WutheringWaves just released their 1.1 trailer. It looks absolutely sick. Let me break down everything that you missed, everything you need to know, and how to prepare for 1.1. If you want to see the actual trailer itself, I will leave you a link to the trailer itself down below. But from here on out, I'm going to be explaining and deep diving everything that was important that they announced. Let's get into it. So the first big thing that they announced and they showcased, of course, is going to be the new characters. Changli has a sword and looks like she's going to be fire, which kind of makes sense. She's orange. She has always kind of dealt with phoenixes and fire looking aesthetic, so this makes perfect sense. We don't really know much about what her actual kit is or what she does. The next character that they show is Jinshi. Jinshi is going to come first. We've gotten a quick look at what her weapon looks like, and of course, she is the spectral element. The rest of the information that we were given from the first animation snippet and the animation itself looks terrific, but since there wasn't a live stream, and I'm assuming there was some hiccup or maybe they just didn't want to do a live stream this time around, they decided to break everything down at the end of this video, which is about 2 minutes of information dumping. Let's see what's actually coming to 1.1 and what we can expect. Version 1.1 is coming on the 28th, but the first thing that they announced is new gameplay. There's the hologram ski, there's the clang bang, and these are gonna just be your typical I receive reward because I decided to do the new activity or the world gameplay kind of activities. It honestly feels really good to see these kind of activities because it makes you want to enjoy the world more and wants you to invest in the world more. We have a bit of a preview for the different clang bang echo challenges. To be clear, I'm not super understanding why they're selling this whole I can transform into an echo, and that's like our big selling point specifically for the new area. I do think it looks cool, but it kind of feels like they're advertising this clang bang activity equal to or more than they're selling Jinshi or Changli as characters. I don't know what exactly the reason for that is, but I feel like I've seen so much advertising or marketing specifically for the clang bang echo challenge. Maybe something absolutely insane will be tied to this activity. From what I could tell, it's just another world activity. It's even got its own special section with the tactical hologram skiing. Just an interesting reward that you can get in the overworld. The other thing that is being advertised and talked about in 1.1 is new mechanics. There's now an activity that involves you shooting things in the sky, I guess, to release gates or to unlock access to new areas. There's things like pressure platforms, stone lifts, light emitters, light gatherers. All of this, of course, all for the same purpose of giving you rewards, specifically chests for the pressure platform. Who knows what will actually be given, whether that's, again, the new collectible material that's similar to Sonnet's caskets, whether that ends up just being chests by itself, or if it ends up being astrite, we're not sure right now. But given that it's just a new mechanic, it's just another thing you'll find in the overworld, it's pretty safe to say that these are just going to be the new 1.1 mechanics that will give you astrite and will give you more resources so that you can pull more. The leap device that was previously showcased through the waterfall activity was kind of cool when I saw it initially, but seeing that you can actually get launched off into like the middle of the area so that you can, I guess, glide around and fly around is actually one of the more exciting things, in all honesty, that I've seen from the 1.1 trailer. I know a lot of people are going to be very interested in Changli and Jinshi, but I do think that WutheringWaves is a game where if the mechanics or if the exploration or the actual movement combat of the game, like the actual, well, for lack of a better word, mechanics feel really good, then the game will be much more enticing. So for me personally, if I were to come into a game that had a lot of these things, like the leap device, or if the combat of the game felt very fluid, in my opinion, that would sell me on staying for a lot longer, because there are a lot of other games in the industry where they look really nice, or some aspects or some mechanics in the game feel nice, but the second that you stop doing combat or the second you stop doing exploration, the complexity or the feeling dwindles really fast. So for me personally, I think the leap device looks cool. It's another way for you to feel like your mechanics or your movement is unlocked and free. And that isn't even talking about arguably, I think, one of the coolest looking mechanics that they have, which is the Chronos Order. I know it's just another random environmental activity that you get to move around and it'll like change a bridge back in time, or maybe you'll reform a piece of, or maybe you'll reform a structure that was broken in the past. But things like this give WutheringWaves heart. I understand I just mentioned what I said about the echoes and not really understanding why transforming into an echo is being advertised so heavily, but I do think that when the environment itself is changing and it feels like the world around you is being built, it's quite interesting, which feels a little bit different than trying to advertise, hey guys, you can transform into a square. enough about the clang bangs though. I apologize for that rant. No one is going to be talking about this, but this is probably going to be the biggest thing that people sleep on or aren't talking about when it comes to the 1.1 trailer. Now, of course, Changli Jinshi are insane. They look terrific. They look great. However, the impact of the echoes, or what the impact of the echoes can have, is super significant. As you guys know, we're really annoyed trying to farm for 3 costs, for 4 costs. So depending on how good these echoes are, or how impactful they are, or how easy they are to farm, things will change a lot. But let's break down every single one. Now, Sentinel Jue looks very promising. The echo skill reads that you summon Jue to attack the enemies, dealing spectre damage, and you can perform resonance skill to deal sustained spectre damage to the enemies over time. But based on what I understand from this echo skill, you can summon Jue to attack, and if you decide to use her resonance skill in combination with while Jue is out, you do a bunch of spectre damage. And just based off of how they've been advertising and selling and kind of lore building with Jue and Jinshi, this is likely going to be the best in slot summon echo for Jinshi. This makes sense, of course. This is her partner in crime, and what better way to advertise a new echo that you have to farm than pairing Jue alongside a brand new fancy resonator. To be clear, we don't know anything about the stats of this. 4 costs or calamity cost echoes, and all echoes in general, still share these same rules of being able to have crit rate, crit damage, you know it. But as far as I could tell, this won't change any other echo choices for anyone else. It does say that you can use your resonance skill after Jue is summoned to then do more damage. So depending on what is advertised or what we see once Jue comes out, maybe you could even argue trying to farm out or use this on someone like Verena, but we don't know what sets it's on. We don't really know if there's any other boosts. Assuming that there isn't, this is likely going to be a Jinshi specific echo. Insane though. The next echo that they're showing off is the Lumiscale construct, and in all honesty, it looks really goofy. Now, from what you see right here, it kind of just looks like a rock in the sky, and that's kind of what it is until you actually see what it does. And it's basically a transformation echo where you become a sword, which is kind of ridiculous, but like whatever, I guess. In any case, this is one of the 3 cost echoes, and the echo skill reads that you transform and you enter a parry stance, and when you get attacked, you perform a counter attack, and if you parry a special skill attack, you interrupt it and deal extra damage. Now, from what I could tell right now, it's such a long animation that it doesn't seem likely that this echo will actually end up being super good, unless if you're able to cancel how long the animation is, or if you could swap to someone else and the sword stays out on field. If that isn't the case though, this is likely going to be an echo that you just end up farming because it ends up having a main stat that you end up needing on one of your character's builds. It does look really funny though. Honestly, it's really cool that you just become a sword and you parry, but it is a really long animation. In the middle of a fight, you don't really have the time to just sit there and wait for the enemy to hit you. There's probably not going to be good value in doing this, but who knows, because we don't know what the multipliers of the actual echo are yet. And now we have the Light Crusher. The Light Crusher alongside the Lumiscale construct, in my opinion, are likely going to be the coolest looking echoes for those of you looking to actually mess around or experiment with your echoes. Now, as it reads right here, it's just a 3 cost elite class echo, but as you read from the skill, it says that you lunge forward as a Light Crusher dealing spectre damage. This is likely not going to be better than Jue because, let's be honest, it's Jue, it's Jinshi, there's no way that pairing is going to get messed up. However, what is interesting about it is that it says that you can hold the echo skill to lunge for a longer distance after gaining momentum in the Light Crusher form. Now, in terms of how much damage this does, we don't know, but based on what they've shown from the teaser, although you could use this for a little bit of combat and it looks cool, actually you get to use this to kind of run around, and you could argue that it's kind of similar to how people treat Inferno Rider. Very nice, but how practical it is, I'm not sure. Now we have another wolf predator-esque looking echo, another elite class 3 cost, and this time you transform into a Dreadmane to deal consecutive attacks, and it can be casted in midair. Now, interesting thing about the Glacio Dreadmane is that right now there are only 2 characters that could even use Glacio, and that's going to be Sanhua and Ling Yang. Sanhua is definitely not going to be using this over the Heron just because she definitely wants a bit more utility towards the team. But an interesting thing to note about the Glacio Dreadmane is that it does let you use this in midair, and if you're familiar with Ling Yang, sometimes he ends up being aerial, sometimes it feels like you need to be quick on your feet, and in this case, since you're able to use this echo in midair, maybe it has a little bit more value than the Lampy Lumen Myriad. However, again, no multipliers are known right now. We don't know how much damage it's going to do. We don't know if certain fights will require you to act quickly. And as far as I can tell, it doesn't boost any damage, unless if they've just intentionally not included this in the information or skill description for these characters or echo description for these echoes. That being said, as it is right now, I can't really see that much use in this. Even more interesting, however, is their choice to use the Glacio Dreadmane alongside Changli, who's like probably a fire character, and they're using a Glacio Echo. I don't really know what they're thinking of doing here, but like whatever, I guess. And then we also have the Lava Larva, who in my opinion looks very similar to kind of like the Rose Shroom. Now the Echo skill is straightforward. It just says that it summons the larva so it can continuously deal fusion damage, and I mean, what more is there to say? It's a 1 cost, aka common class Echo, and the reason why you're likely going to be farming for this is because you want more attack percent or HP percent for whatever random Echo set that you're trying to complete. Whether you actually end up using this as an Echo skill itself, very unlikely. However, still, it is nice to have more access to 1 cost Echoes so that you can farm more. But let's be real, guys, not that many people are actually farming out in the overworld right now. If you are farming, it's probably because you're trying to level up your databank, which does make sense. However, because we're being given so many selectors, so many events, whether or not you'll actually be farming 24/7, debatable. Now, Kuro's favorite Echo, the Clang Bang, is also actually usable as an Echo itself. I wasn't really expecting it to be an Echo, although I understand that they ask you to transform into an Echo 24/7. However, as you can see, it just says that you summon a Clang Bang that follows the enemy and eventually combusts, which is kind of cool. It's kind of like throwing a mine or a bomb. If you've ever seen like the bomb bombs for like Nintendo games, that's kind of what it sounds like the Clang Bang is supposed to be. As you could probably tell based on their advertising and their marketing and their framing of this Echo, it's likely going to be an exploration-based Echo. Now, although we don't know what the multiplier is going to be for the Echo, it is interesting to note that it is kind of just an Echo that you throw out that will blow up, I guess, on the enemy as soon as it hits its target. Once we find out what the actual multiplier of this is, maybe if it has something really goofy like a 900% multiplier like the Havoc Rover's ultimate, maybe it's something that you could end up using, but at least from what we know or what it's being advertised as, it probably won't be used for that purpose. And then finally, we have the Dwarf Cassowary, which is just a chicken. And I guess if you wanted to play as a chicken, well, here's your fantasy to do so. The actual skill description itself doesn't look like anything significant. It literally just says you summon a chicken to fight and it deals physical damage. That's exactly what it is. You're just playing as a chicken and it rolls. I guess if you want to kind of imagine that you're playing with a Pokemon, feel free to do so. In general though, having new 1 cost Echoes is going to be nice because you're likely trying to finish out or build up your new Jinshi or whatever resonators you needed in the past. But moving along, we have the weapons. Now, nothing is really known about these weapons yet. All we know is that Ages of Harvest is obviously going to go towards the Jinshi. Blazing Brilliance, obviously going to be for Changli, and it's a sword. They're both 5 stars, and if history tells you anything, these 2 signature weapons are definitely going to be best in slot on both Jinshi and Changli. Who knows if they'll be good on the other characters yet? We'll have to see their actual stats and what they do later. However, expect to pity or have to pull for these weapons if you want to have the best in slot for a character like Jinshi or for Changli. Side note, if you are someone who's going to be free to play and aren't sure whether or not these are going to be worth pulling, I will mention that if you are already someone that has something like Commando of Conviction, there's a good chance you're not going to need a weapon like the Blazing Brilliance, especially because of how good the Commando of Conviction is. However, I understand if you are someone that wants the min-max, wants to do as much damage as possible, Blazing Brilliance is fine. Though I do know a lot of people that ended up taking the 5-starred Emerald Sword instead. I don't really know then if it would be smart to pull for a 5-star limited sword and then also have the Emerald Genesis on your account. It doesn't really make sense. However, if you were someone that ended up skipping over Gian and you didn't care for him, and you don't have either a signature, and you didn't end up pulling for a signature, then maybe Ages of Harvest is the broad blade for you. Again, we don't really know what it's going to be for Jinshi, but if you're somewhat of a waifu enjoyer, if you're someone that loves playing Jinshi and you just all in on specifically her, then there's probably no better opportunity than to just pull for Broadblade. However, if you are someone that bought the Battle Pass, the Broadblade from the Battle Pass is really solid, and they also give you a free copy of it. So not only do you get a solid Broadblade specifically from the Battle Pass, you also get a free imprint. So in that case, maybe you might not need the Broadblade Ages of Harvest either. However, if you're playing Jinshi and you want her to do max damage, expect to pull for it. Now, moving away from the weapons, the event looks cool. Now, you can't really see it on screen because I'm covering it, but there are a bunch of gold rewards that they're showing off. They're giving us the premium sealed tubes, they're giving us the resonator EXP, and the weapon EXP, all of which are really solid alongside the Astrite. Of course, this is going to be the area events. They're going to be giving you plenty of rewards. cool. But interestingly, they also announced a photo collection event, which does also give you Astrite, but it only gives you purple level resources this time around. I'm assuming that this is going to be like a daily, or this is supposed to be like a more easygoing, instant gratification type event, which is why they're giving you epic level resources instead of gold. However, it's just another event to give you free resources in. It's all going to go towards pulling for Jinshi anyways, so it doesn't matter. But after seeing the rewards for the Depths of Elusive Realm, I do think it is kind of interesting that they show off so much of the gold resources in general, but they don't end up deciding to give you gold specifically for that event. Whatever the case is, these rewards are also really cool. They're giving us more of the gold level resources, and they're continuing the trend of giving us not only Astrite, but a selector for the Echo. So even more help if you are missing out on those 3-cost Echoes at this point. If you don't actually need more 3-cost Echoes though, and you feel like they've been shoving this down your throat, well, you're not crazy. It does feel like every single reward in the game right now points towards giving you free Echoes. And then finally, and interestingly enough, is that, again, there's another event that gives you Astrite and a free Echo, which is not a bad thing by any means, but they did announce, I believe on a couple of their social media platforms, that there was going to be a crownless hologram. Now, I thought this was just going to be a new addition to 1.1, but based on this and based on what we've seen so far, the hologram is going to actually be a limited time battle challenge. Now, I don't know if this is different from what they announced on other social media platforms, but if it is the same, then what I can tell is that the new hologram is just going to be a battle event that you end up doing. It gives you, again, more of the gold resources, which is really nice, and it also gives you a way for you to actually test out the strength of your characters or to see how well you can perform. If we know Kuro, or if we're expecting how Kuro will probably be handling this event, it likely won't be so insane that you won't be able to beat it, even though it does look like fighting 2, maybe even 3 bosses at some point could be challenging. They'll likely give you some handicap, and I cannot imagine that they lock something like Echoes or free rewards in an event behind you having to get good, though it would be really funny if they did that. And then finally, there's a new Lalo campaign, which is just a commission thing. All you gotta do is just give them some free rewards, something that you find out in the world. If you've even been playing the game, you probably won't even have to go out. You just hand in the quest immediately and receive a free reward. And as you can see on the screen here, these are actually pretty nice rewards. You could get something like the Crystal Solvent. You could get Premium. You could get the Tuners. You could get food. You could get Resonator EXP. And most importantly, and I think this is going to be slept on the most, you could just get one of the materials that you would otherwise need to farm one of the weekly bosses for, just at random. Now, again, I know most people aren't even familiar with what this is, but this is one of the materials that you need and you can only get from weekly materials to specifically craft a free 4-star weapon. If you are free to play, maybe this is something you're familiar with, but if you aren't, this is actually quite annoying to farm for, especially if you aren't doing weeklies for no apparent reason. Personally, when I was trying to find a 4-star weapon for my gauntlet and my pistol users, who are definitely more of the neglected weapon types that I have, I was kind of reaching for the crafted weapons, and I just didn't have any of these. So being able to get this from a commission seems really cool. I don't know exactly how the reward is going to work, if it's going to be random, or if it's going to be calculated, if it's going to be, predetermined. But the campaign is solid. I'm very excited. But even more exciting than the campaign is all the free rewards that we're going to be getting. If you just log in for 7 days, as you can see here, you're going to receive 5 free pulls on the Rate Up banner. You're also going to be receiving 5 free Lustrous Tides that you could use to pull for whatever you want. But if that wasn't crazy enough, guess what? We doubled it. So instead of just getting 5 and 5, we're actually receiving 10, 10, 10. This is an insane amount of rewards. We're receiving 10 more limited pulls if you log in on July 4th. We're receiving 10 of the Radiant. We're receiving 10 of the Forging Tide, aka weapon pulls, on the 6th of July. And if you decide to log on the 10th of July, you'll also receive 10 more Lustrous Tides. I don't know, guys. Kuro games could even mess up or something. There might be like server lag or a delay once Jinshi or 1.1 comes out. And who knows, maybe they'll give you another 10 free summons. I can't tell. With all that out of the way though, guys, there is so much to be excited about. The echoes are cool. The exploration, the world looks cool. Jinshi and Changli look magnificent. And all the free rewards that we're getting are insane. That being said though, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you again for watching. If you learned something, if you appreciate this sort of content, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. But otherwise, make sure to like, turn on the notification bell, subscribe, check out the rest of my content through all my other social media, whether that's Twitter, Discord, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, whatever it is. Feel free to follow me on all those platforms and keep up to date. Thank you again for watching, everyone. Good night, everyone. I'll see you on the next one. pro games. And I think you would like to click on this video, so you should click on it, and you would probably learn something or two from this video. So you should click on this video, click on it, click on it. Okay, I'm not gonna scam you into clicking on it. If you want to click on it, you can. But otherwise, see ya. Bye-bye.